hardware, into our computers, and all over the place.
And in Camden, Delaware, more than 12,000 chicks were left in a post office truck for more than 3 days. Thousands died. The SPCA asking, anyone want to adopt a pet chicken? This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your, from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your team and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
It's Clean Car Month. Right now, get the Pro X1 Car Care Collection Wash Kit for just $19.99, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Turner Security. We bring cutting-edge protection with live video monitoring, access control entry, advanced camera systems, and intermedia IP phones, all designed to keep your business safe and connected. From small businesses to large enterprises, our expert team ensures seamless integration and around-the-clock monitoring, because security isn't just a service, it's our mission. Turner Security, powered by TechCore.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with Rick and Wayne. And, good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Brother Rick.
How are you, buddy?
Well, I'm about to recover. It was a weekend of softball and coach pitch baseball and birthday parties and end of the season parties. So by Sunday evening, I was just whooped. But had a great time watching the grandchildren play, though. It was the best weekend.
Well, we had Cheryl Blanchard on the show, and she was bragging pretty heavily about this weekend's event that you were able to go to.
Teresa and Hillary and Brad and Rachel and Daniel. So we had a group out there. We sat outside of Hop Springs, had a direct line of sight of the band, and I think it was a very successful activity, fundraising for Middle Tennessee Alzheimer's. At least I hope so. But we had a great time.
That's great. That's awesome.
Weather was beautiful and nice little breeze. So again, the band knocked it out of the park. So I hope they did very, very well.
Very good. That's awesome.
So, you were busy working on your RV?
RV, and we planted shrubs. And
bless your heart.
I did bush hog pastures, and I got hay ordered.
You had a working weekend. I had a recreational weekend.
You know, you don't have time during the week anymore. And anybody that has horses or chickens or anything like that, you learn very quickly that your weekend's taken up a lot of times by taking care of those animals.
Well, I guess mine are grandchildren. Sometimes you feel like you're caring for livestock just because they're so busy with all their activities. But it's all about building long-term memories and wanting them to know that their grandfather is interested in their
making memories,
their growth. Mm-hmm. So, Brother Rick, we have, I think, just going to be an outstanding guest this morning. We are distantly related, cousins. Brother Steve has been an attorney here in Rutherford County for over 5 decades. Very well respected, admired, and known throughout our county community and the mid-state. And Cousin Steve Walden, just a pleasure to have you this morning. Welcome.
Pleasure to be with you, Wayne.
I think you'll have a good time. I know we'll have a great time just getting to hear. I don't know that I know anyone that has as many great stories and memories about our county community, especially our Rock Springs community, and just pleased to have you this morning.
it's a blessing to be with you, Wayne.
Well, talk a little bit about your family. We always try to do that in the first segment before we get into some of the historical aspects of the county.
Well, my wife is Jerry. She was Jerry Cox. That was her maiden name. Her older sister was Margaret Cox Rakes. Bud Rakes is Bud's wife. So that's my wife. I got daughters, Jessica Jennings. She has 4 kids in Nashville. And my daughter Maggie Parsley is married to Ben Parsley, who's a local attorney now in-house with TDK. And they have 3 children. My sister, 2 years younger, is living, Donna Maxwell in Brentwood. My brother passed away in 2015. His name was Everett.
Right.
He was named after our grandfather. He was Little Everett. So that's kind of my family. My mother's people were John and Orpha Clark.
Mm-hmm.
He came from Hickman County. She came from Dixon. He'd been a tenant farmer who waited until he was in his mid-30s so he could save enough money to buy a place, and he came to Rutherford County. And his farm, as you know, lays on Rock Springs Road, but it's right in front of the Blair home place.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had Blairs walking through all the time. In fact, my mother said that your Uncle Warmoth always gave her a spanking on her birthday. He remembered it very, very, and she remembered it very acutely. My other grandfather was Everett Waldron. He was married to Pearl Austin, and they lived on Rock Spring Road. My families lived across the creek from each other. And so it's a nice way to come into the world if your grandparents are already best friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm told stories of how my Waldron family would come across the creek and the road to the Clark family, and they would listen to the Grand Ole Opry every Saturday night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I was fortunate that way.
You know, there's been many to say that you getting to marry Jerry was that you outkicked your coverage pretty well.
Well, I did. As I suggested, it was kind of by default since Bud was her brother-in-law. Everybody else was afraid to date her.
We had a judge on the show that said the exact same thing about asking for.
I was lucky my mother had a laundry business in the house. She used a wringer washer, hung other people's clothes on the line. And so Jerry's mother had cancer, so they brought her clothes down. So I got to see a lot of folks coming out of our house. The only door interior in our house, inside door, was to the bathroom. Everybody else had clothes hanging in the
wow.
And they came when they felt like it and got their clothes, even if nobody was there. It was a little different time.
Yeah, I can remember when we lived on Rocky Fork. Of course, my first 5 years was right there on, I think they called it Blair Lane at that time, but I guess Blair Road now. But I don't ever remember a Rocky Fork us ever locking the door when we left to go to church or to the store or anything like that.
Yeah, that's there, and you could have strangers show up, and not only were you not put off by a stranger, they were welcomed. There was a sort of hospitality that was kind of baked into things, you know, and that's changed. I can also remember when people were glad to have people drop in. They called it company.
Yes, sir.
They would say, they would love to have somebody come that they weren't anticipating. Now I have heard about people who hide in their own house when they see somebody at the front door.
And won't answer the door.
It was funny. Everybody was glad to see company coming back those days.
Well, with Rick being a former police detective and county commissioner, he probably wasn't real happy about having company, I suspect.
Somehow my name got on the list at the county clerk's office to do marriages, and of course the having the website, they publish your name, address, and phone number.
Right.
Well, if I didn't answer my phone, many times I'd have a knock at the door, and it'd be some couple standing there wanting to get married.
Rick, did you know that in the old days, county commissioners were called magistrates?
Yes, sir.
And they actually had judicial powers.
That needs to come back.
All right. So what would happen is, if it was a commissioner, he's at his farm out in the country, and a couple of the neighbors had a dispute, he would try the case under a tree in the front yard.
Oh, that definitely needs to come back right there.
But it's,
I'd win every fight I have with my wife.
Yeah.
It'd be
well, commissioners had judicial authority.
Did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they were called magistrates, just like in federal court they have magistrates. Where that was the precursor of our county commissioner.
Talk about your childhood. You know, of course, you went to Smyrna High School, and you went to just talk about your Smyrna experience in school.
Well, one of the pleasant experiences, and since I'm with you, Wayne, I can recall this. This was before the lake, we say it came in, before they dammed the river and formed Percy Priest Lake. Well, we'd have flooding. And we didn't have so much bad flooding out our way, west of what's now the interstate, but the interstate, I-24 wasn't there. But out in Old Jefferson, which is our Atlantis, it's under the lake.
Right.
Okay. And the Rockdale community behind it, before the lake came in, they couldn't get home. So when it rained, we'd get to go home early. And lots of times I would wind up riding with your mother, and she would always remind me that we were related. But for some reason, she would wind up carrying a bunch of kids home from school early because it rained. But that's passed away. Well, grew up on, actually, I started out at Medalon Homes. That was the project. Mm-hmm. Okay, but everything about northern Rutherford County is different. Being in the projects wasn't a bad thing. It was built because the Air Force Base came in 1940, and there had to be some housing, cheap housing. But it was also a good place for people to start their marriages. I mean, it was not looked down upon just because it was a housing project, but it didn't live there long. Then we migrated out to Rock Springs Road, but I actually lived on Cedar Grove Lane, a gravel lane.
Is that back behind the church?
It runs from Rock Springs Road to Cheney Road, and there was a Cedar Grove school on that road. You know, we have Cedar Grove School now, but that's where the first Cedar Grove school was there.
Right.
My parents both went there. Mr. Dudley Woods taught both of them there, and so we didn't get running water till I was about 9. We got a TV when I was about 7. My dad bought some land at a courthouse sale, and we moved to Jefferson Pike in Laverne in '59, and then we got a telephone. Don't feel sorry for me. Especially the male version of children in that time and place were free to go anywhere we wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And we were welcomed anywhere we could go and play in anybody's barn, their creek, their pond. It was a very idyllic sort of childhood. My best friend was another one of your cousins, David Britton. And we literally just went, his grandparents lived behind him, so it was a very good childhood. We rode the bus. Neil Odom was our bus driver. Our favorite, you know Neil, I'm sure, and his son Gary. Well, Neil was a really good businessman. I mean, he could make money farming, he could make money doing different things, but he was really sharp, and he had school buses. So he'd ordered a new bus, and he'd sold his old bus. He must have gotten a good price for it. this was our favorite time for getting to school. The new bus didn't come in, so he took us to school in a cattle truck.
Oh my goodness!
and we thought that was the coolest thing in the world to ride a cattle truck to and from school. So we went to the school at Smyrna, of course, was the old rock school. It was 1 through 12. And so we would see, you could see people whose name would be called out during the football game. You could actually see your heroes up close and personal, and we had Mr. McWilliams, who was, he was the principal, a really good principal. They tell me that the discipline at the rock school was non-existent before he came in the early 50s.
I'd heard that as well.
And so discipline came with him. He was from Pikeville. He'd been an officer in the war, in World War II, and he never married. He lived in a cottage there on Sam Davis Road, Mrs. Coleman owned. Mm-hmm. And then you didn't see him on the weekend, but it was like the school was, he was a priest and the school was his church. Everything he took care of, and it was in good shape, and the discipline was good. He would do things like take all the boys out of the class to pick up rocks. Mm-hmm. I don't know where rocks come from. I don't know how they regenerate. And that you can get every rock that's on the playground, and there are always more rocks.
Glad I don't have to do that again. 2 weeks later, you're out there doing it.
And so we had, the girls, Smyrna always had, in those days, great girls basketball.
Right.
Pusher Howell was the coach. And we'd be in the old gym, and we always had great teams there. Probably the event, and I have a hard time finding anybody else who remembers this, and it was the last week of the year, and I think it was 58. We had a train wreck in Smyrna. There were two couples double dating, and they tried to beat the train and didn't make it.
Oh, wow.
And so you see all of the debris. I was in the 4th grade. I remember these are people I had seen walking around school, but it was such a traumatic thing. And it kind of hovered over all of us because it was, it was a personal thing. Everybody has to go across the railroad tracks in downtown Smyrna. But all 4 of those teenagers were killed in that wreck. Mm. But so things came along. I guess the next big event is when the new school, which is now Smyrna Middle, opened in 1960. And they had the kid. It was funny, we left the old school. I didn't because I was in the 6th grade. I suddenly became a senior. Grades 7 through 12 migrated over to the new school, and they picked up their books and they walked over to the new school. And that was the biggest deal. It was the Taj Mahal. Sure. And Mr. McWilliams treated it like the Taj Mahal.
No doubt.
It looked, the day he died in the fall of '73, it looked pretty much like it did the day he took it over, and then Bud made it look that good or better as long as he was there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. Hey, we're coming up on a break, so I'm going to take a real break and we'll come back real
That'd
quick,
be great.
okay? You listen to local attorney Steve Waldron and Smyrna native, but we'll take our first break, be right back with you.
At Turner Security, we bring cutting-edge protection with live video monitoring, access control entry, advanced camera systems, and intermedia IP phones, all designed to keep your business safe and connected. From small businesses to large enterprises, our expert team ensures seamless integration and around-the-clock monitoring, because security isn't just a service, it's our mission. Turner Security, powered by TechCore.
Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Middle Point Landfill's Mike Klassen.
Between our property and the county landfill property, there are 1,000 contiguous acres.
Middle Point Landfill.
How do we make a career training center to help drivers and welders and technicians and environmental scientists and put a state-of-the-art property out there? Or maybe it's to build a multi-million-dollar STEM accelerator facility that partners with county schools that could utilize our 1,000 acres and all of the ecological preserve we have out there to really push STEM education.
The answer's here. Middle Point Landfill.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
I've got pests.
AmeriCare Services Incorporated, family owned and operated. For residential and commercial customers, we offer a full range of services. Our services include one-time, monthly, and quarterly pest control, termite control, moisture and fungus control, automatic foundation vents, and more. Licensed, insured, and bonded for your protection. 893-7111.
All the best of the best to get rid of your pests.
AmeriCare Services Incorporated.
Your good neighbor station, WGNS, welcomes all of you here for Spring Fling. It's the statewide high school tournaments for warm weather sports. And according to area hotels, many of you are staying all the way through the Memorial Day weekend to get in a little sightseeing. We welcome you to the community and hope your stay here is enjoyable. Perhaps you're wanting to learn more about beekeeping. The Rutherford County beekeepers meet on the first Monday night of each month, 7 o'clock in the evening, over at the Lane Agri Park. And the next meeting will be Monday night, June the 2nd, just around the corner. The Lane Agri Park is at 315 John R. Rice Boulevard. Sing, a worship night at McKnight Park. That's where Sportscom is. And that'll be Friday night, May 30th. It's not this weekend, but the weekend afterward. Food trucks are at 5:30, and the worship and singing is at 7. That's Friday night, May 30th, at the Sportscom Complex. And it's hosted by North Boulevard Church of Christ and Highway 231 South Church of Christ. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
A few scattered showers and storms possible late this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops, a high in the mid-80s. Tonight, a good chance for showers and storms, a low near 63. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 74.
WGNS powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Looking to go solar? MTE's Pro Solar program is committed to educating members on the process and helping them achieve their renewable energy goals. Learn more about Pro Solar and your free consultation at mte.com/prosolar.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And welcome back to the second segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And we're having a great time this morning getting to talk with a distant cousin, but 5 decades of serving the legal community here in Rutherford County. And proud to call him Cousin Steve Waldron. Again, thank you, Steve, for being with us this morning.
Glad to be with you. My father used to bring us in. I love the square. I think the square is magical, and I'm glad it's doing so well now.
Yes, sir.
But in the non-summer months, when there wasn't a lot of work to do, he was a checker player and became a state champion checker player, so that he'd play checkers at the courthouse and bring my brother and me. My mother thought he was bonding with us. He would give each of us $1. He'd be at the courthouse playing checkers on Saturday. My brother and I would go promptly to the courtroom, and even more promptly, my brother would win my $1. So I was on my own, on the square in Murfreesboro. And so you could clamber around. But back then, Saturday was a business day. The courts were open. Everybody came in to do their business. They worked all week, so you could go to any county office on Saturday. And so I'm a kid, and my brother's won my $1, so I'm broke. And I love the courthouse. And so I would go to court and watch court. when I'm 9, 10 years old. I'm not sure they liked having me there, but it was kind of a mesmerizing experience. Later on, when I was at UT in the fall of '66, I went over to the gym to just work out some, and I met a guy from East Tennessee who was in law school. He said, "Where are you?" A very friendly guy, and he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Smyrna." He said, "Well, Johnny Mitchell's from Smyrna, and he was in school with Johnny." And so then I realized that a guy from Smyrna could be a lawyer, because I knew Johnny Mitchell.
Sure.
And Johnny's in law school, and then you kind of see a little progression there. And so then that's kind of how it went along. And then I went to the University of Florida because I got in, started married life down there. And then I was scared to death first quarter. And then once I was pretty confident I could stay, I was the happiest guy. I loved law school. I loved the law, loved reading it, loved all that stuff. But I knew I wanted to come home. You couldn't get jobs as a lawyer in Rutherford County. It was almost impossible unless your dad was a lawyer or where you were really plugged in. And I was fortunate. I went to Guy Dotson's office. He was a young DA. And he said, I wanted to be a DA. He said, I don't have a job for you, but I like you. So he called Tom Reed. Tom was a partner with Bill Wright, and he sent me directly down there, and I got hired. Just stumbling along, and I got that job. I had an offer from Dave Boland to come to Smyrna, and that's what I was going to do. So I went to my dad, kind of pro forma, because I knew he wanted his son to be a lawyer down there. And I was telling him, I said, what do you think, which one do you think I ought to do? He said, without a doubt, you need to take the job in Murfreesboro. I said, why do you say that? He said, well, if you're any good, people from Smyrna are going to come to you. He said, if you're not any good, I don't want you down here embarrassing me. So that's how I got to Murfreesboro. That was how Daddy nurtured us. But anyway, I worked for Bill Wright 6 months, and then I became a partner with David Kias, and I was befriended by an older lawyer, John Holloway, whose people are from Smyrna, by the way, and he had pretty much retired. His office hours were Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 to 12. And so he had me help him on a thing or two, and then our friendship blossomed in my law practice. He totally reopened his practice. And Wayne and Rick, if you can imagine trying to start a business, and this guy would tell people, he said, I've known you forever, and I'm not going to live long, but when I die, I want you to go to Steve. He's the best young lawyer I've ever seen come through Rutherford County. And he loaded my wagon that way, man.
Wow.
And so he essentially, you can't sell a law practice like you can sell a barber shop or you can sell any other kind of business. So it kind of dies with you. And so he essentially gave me his practice. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me. Sure. And only had him that way about 3 or 4. Our anchor client was a bootlegger.
No kidding.
We had so much fun. We had the bootlegger only serve people that the country club and not even the VFW wanted. So he served a purpose on Saturday. So anyway, and so he took me, and I practiced law. His brother was a circuit judge, and I went to kind of naive. I went to Circuit Judge Wiley Holloway. We didn't have a public defender system. They'd had one in Florida when I was there. And I told him, ask him if he would let me represent everybody at the jail who didn't have a lawyer. I didn't need to be appointed. I wanted human cadavers to work on, like I was in med school. Yeah. And I always loved their stories. I loved how they got to where they were. And I still do. I still light up when I'm going to meet a new client, and I kind of prepare. You know, it's that old company coming thing. And the way my mother ran her laundry business in the house, and everybody could be comfortable. I wanted an office, put a little money into a building where I've been in since '84. I wanted to have a nice place for them to come, but I wanted it to feel like a general store. And that's kind of worked for me.
How cool.
So what are some of the, you think back now, you've done this for over 50 years. What are some cases that stand out to you that you've represented people and had a story? Because there's been a lot go on here in Rutherford County over the years.
There were some big ones, except that they're all big. I had Miss Icy Maiden Elms in the clerk's office asked me one day, and I was kind of full of myself. I'd been, Mr. Holloway taking me in, so I had made this great leap forward that I didn't deserve. And she said, "What have you got in court today, Ms. Nelmstead?" And I said, "Well, I got a little case in General Sessions." And she motioned me over. And she said, "If it was my case, it wouldn't be a little case." She also told me, and I got PTSD from this, she called me over one day and she said, "Look at your shoes." So I looked down. She said, "They don't look very good, do they?" I said, "No, ma'am, they don't." She said, "If I was wanting a lawyer, I wouldn't think you would take any better care of me than you did your shoes."
Wow.
And I got, now for whatever reason, I could handle all of that. I mean, all of that. I thought everybody wanted me to do just great, and that's why they were all being. But I've really had lots of people to help me along. There's one case stands out. Sometimes you have to represent people against, if you're from here and you work here as a lawyer, you're going to be against somebody you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there have been times when I have represented people against people I knew because the person I represented needed a lawyer and a friend, and I knew more human beings in Rutherford County than any other lawyer, because that's my mother's fault. She liked human beings. She liked getting to know people and helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always had lots of people that I knew. But see, from northern Rutherford County, we have a lot of people, Rick, as you know, who need lawyers. We don't turn out a lot of lawyers. So it's really almost too easy to be a lawyer from Smyrna and Laverne, if you're any good, because you'll be covered up with business. Dennis Johnson in the class of '68 told me that they were having a class reunion, that I should be their corporate sponsor since I had divorced everybody in the class. And it was weird. Nobody in Smyrna Laverne knew anybody who was a lawyer. And I kind of knew everybody, and I wanted to know the ones I didn't know yet. So as far as big cases, there was a murder case where our guy was convicted, Clay Young, and we got it reversed.
Wow.
Terry Fan, my partner, and I tried that case, and we got it reversed. And that made a big, big difference. There's another case where I actually helped get a guy I went to high school with convicted of murder in another state, and then I got to try the custody case for his 4-year-old daughter. That's because of the people were so rich, they were so good,
Mm-hmm.
and the situation was so. I like it when I can make things easier. Sometimes I can help people get to really a good place. Sometimes I can just help it be a little better. So I enjoy that.
So over the course of your career, have you defended more females or males in divorce court?
Yeah, a lot more women.
Okay.
And one of my heroes from Rock Spring Road was a guy named Milton Irvin.
Right.
His
brother Milton.
He was a very good, well-learned Church of Christ preacher. And so he came to do the gospel meeting at Cedar Grove Church of Christ. And he was so upscale that he even had titles for each of his sermons. And one of them, Rick, was The High Cost of Low Living. I was 9. Every divorce case I tried for the first 10 years, that was my theme. I said, Judge, don't feel sorry for him. It's just time for him to pay the high cost of low living. I totally stole from Milton. And I saw him later on, and I told him about it, and he'd kept his sermons. And so he had, back then, that he was talking about such evil things as men wearing shorts and men and women swimming together. Those were the big sins back when that sermon came to me. So he dusted it up and made it more contemporary. But I think he liked it that I had swiped his. Then there's this great country music song by Jamie Johnson, The High Cost of Living.
It sure is.
He must have copied Milton too.
Quite possibly. Why don't you backtrack a little bit, because you played football at Smyrna High School, and was it just football, or did you have other?
I played baseball.
Baseball as well.
Lafayette Barnacle.
Back behind us, growing up.
Lafayette was Mr. Barnacle was in the Air Force, and he's a big baseball guy. So he started American Legion Ball. And all of a sudden, he got sent to Vietnam. So we had a team and uniforms, and we had to get a coach back for that.
Would that have been Bill McPeak? Did Bill
no,
step
it wasn't
in?
Bill. I'm trying to think of who it was. Mr. Snooks Lee stood in a few times. That's Bill Lee's dad.
Right.
You know, Bill.
Yes, sir.
A great family. Mr. Snooks was. He was a great guy, great coach. He had the best curveball and drop, and he could throw batting practice all day, and it was all in the wrist. And he just never got tired, and he never stopped talking. He was in duck-head pants and Brogan work shoes playing baseball, and he was, he's my dad's age, a little older than my dad, and the guy's just as calm and cool out there just playing ball like it's fun.
Yeah, he touched so many lives, Lafayette Barnacle, because, I even got to play, for him, and he lived that. And, he's recognized with a field naming, but I feel like so much more needed to be, because every little boy that came through Smyrna and Laverne during that time, he about touched them.
He had some interesting sayings. My friend Joe Gill, you all know Joe and Harry.
Yes, sir.
Well, Joe went to Vietnam. That could happen to you if you went to college and you did study real hard, and Joe qualified. And then you get drafted.
Oh, yeah.
And he went to Vietnam, and he came back. And Joe was different, And I remember Lafayette said, Joe has been to see the monkey. I don't know what in the heck that means. It means he's been to war. But that was a saying Lafayette. He had a lot of funny sayings.
Yeah, that's... we used to say, I do not want to go to the University of Vietnam.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you another thing that's interesting is Fred Johnson is a legend, and he started Little League Baseball in Smyrna. In about '59, we had an African-American baseball player, and it was Franklin Green, Jeff Green's son. You probably. Great player. And later on, I asked Mr. Johnson, I said, how in the world did you decide to let an African-American play baseball? Well, he said, it wasn't my idea. He said he just came with you, and I didn't have the heart to tell him he couldn't play baseball.
Oh, yeah. How cool.
It was a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Goodness. What position did you play in high school?
Played center and linebacker. I got to play with Walter Jordan.
Right.
And we were always, if you always have the best player on the field, there's a pretty good chance you're the best team. And Walter was always the best player on the field.
Now, did you play with Dean Holland as well?
Dean was best man in my wedding.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. I played with Dean. Dean was good, terrific. His brother Donnie had the best instincts of any football player I was ever around. Yep. I mean, he would do things that you're not supposed to do and get away with it. He could just he played his own game out there, you know, and it was very successful. He had complete belief in his ability to do whatever it took. If it meant jump off the water tower and landing on your feet, he was pretty sure he could do it.
Yes,
and he did.
Yep, he was an amazing athlete, and I sure do miss him.
Yeah.
The last few years, a bunch of us had breakfast together once a month. So, you know, I cherish that time I got to hang with Donnie.
Donnie was the sort of guy that could really make you mad. He could eat. They used to make these. It had peanut butter inside some sugared up, crusty thing. Donnie could eat a whole bag of those for breakfast, and his biceps got bigger. And everybody else is trying to lift weights to get a muscle. And Donnie just had them, and he just ate whatever the heck he wanted to, and his biceps got bigger, and he got faster. I don't know how that worked. Now, Harry Gill was a good player.
Yes, sir. Oh, no doubt.
Harry was second team on Mid-State.
Well, I was in 8th grade, Donnie and Harry's senior year, and I got to see every game, including the Tobacco Bowl, and that was the epitome of enjoying a football season.
You know, one of the sweetest things I have ever seen. That team played Dixon County, and my brother-in-law Bud Rake's mother had just died. And so he was on the sidelines, but he didn't coach a lick. I have never seen guys try so hard. And Dixon County they just blew them away. Yeah. I have never seen guys. They were going to win that game for him.
Yeah. Dixon County was undefeated, and they had a quarterback named Dixon. And the head coach of that team was John Tucker, who won several state championships at Milan. And I just thought that was I didn't realize at the time that I guess that Mr. Rake's mom had passed.
Yeah, and everybody wondered, well, will he be there? Well, he was there, but he didn't have to say a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I would not have wanted to go into the locker room with Donnie Holland if they hadn't won that game.
Right. But I mean, they had so many. You know, Ed Davenport was a quarterback, Sammy Green running back, Aaron Smith the tight end. They had some amazing athletes.
They were good all over.
Yep.
Sure were. You're listening to local attorney Steve Waldron. We're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back with you in just a minute.
At Turner Security, we bring cutting-edge protection with live video monitoring, access control entry, advanced camera systems, and intermedia IP phones, all designed to keep your business safe and connected. From small businesses to large enterprises, our expert team ensures seamless integration and around-the-clock monitoring, because security isn't just a service, it's our mission. Turner Security, powered by TechCore.
Fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now, there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co., LLC, used with permission.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why at Rayburn Insurance, Agent Rick Hull cuts through the jargon and helps you understand your options clearly. He's committed to finding the right coverage that fits your unique needs and budget. Their team has been a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance easy? Get with Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to help you get the protection you deserve.
Hey guys, it's Taylor with Bell Jewelers. When I have customers come in, they have pieces of jewelry that have just sat in their jewelry box for years and years. But my question to them is why? Why are you not wearing it? 99% of the time it's because they don't like the style of it anymore. You have the diamonds to work with. Remake a piece of jewelry into a style that you'll wear. So come see us at Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad Street, across from Toots.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And welcome back to the third and final segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And we've just had a blast with long-time Rutherford County attorney and 50-plus years of serving this county community. And also, I'm proud to be a relative. So that makes even much more fun. I think you were going to talk about some personal heroes.
Yeah,
Brother
heroes.
Steve.
And I was talking to Rick and Wayne about Dr. Robert Sanders. Somehow, I can't imagine not having his statue on the square. The guy, brilliant guy, went to Vanderbilt Medical School, chooses, and he's specialized in pediatrics, chooses to be a public health doctor, and then he comes back to his home county. I mean, he didn't go off somewhere. He came back to his home county. And then he decides there needs to be, he's called Dr. Seatbelt. Now, thankfully, you had John Bragg and some other really good state reps, and he somehow navigated that law through the General Assembly in Nashville. So Tennessee became the first state in the country to have a restraint device requirement. Now it's all over the country. You can only imagine how many lives were saved by that, and then how many horrible injuries were avoided. Sure. So Rick, when I walk around and if I've won a big lawsuit, I can't touch that. you know, and I need to be reminded that there's some stuff around that I just can't touch. Mm-hmm. Then I know Ray Seddon, the only astronaut from Rutherford County, a woman.
Right.
Now, in 1965, she was a Central High School cheerleader. From there to becoming an astronaut, it just blows my mind. I don't think the rest, because if you know her and she's come around, she's involved in the community, it just doesn't, you know, that's Ray. That's Ray said. She's an astronaut. Mm-hmm. It's astounding, really.
Judge Taylor was a Navy SEAL, and his brother, Admiral Taylor, both from the Rockville community, and that's two people I wonder, do we have any more admirals from Rutherford County? I know we have Jim Whitmore from my class was a 2-star Air Force general, but an admiral and a Navy SEAL who became a judge, I find that pretty fascinating.
What's interesting is that Admiral Jimmy Taylor went to MTSU. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Goes to MTSU, and he goes through their flight program, which is stellar, always has been. You know, he's just a guy, you know, marries a girl from Smyrna, which is a good start. One of Mr. Snooks Lee's beautiful daughters.
Right.
All right. And so he just goes into the Navy, and he's a pilot, and he just kind of keeps going. You know, I'm told that he was a consultant on Top Gun.
Yes, sir.
The movie.
Yeah.
All right. But if you see him and you saw him in Smyrna, he's just a guy, you know. Then his brother Royce, who's more my age, he's about 3 years older than me, went to Annapolis and was a Navy SEAL. And Royce was kidding about his brother Jimmy. He said, here's this guy, all of these combat missions in Vietnam, and taking off and landing from aircraft carriers. He said, then he gets to die in his sleep.
That's boring, right?
He just said, that lucky so-and-so, my brother. And he was, I just thought it was a cool statement.
Yes, sir.
And then their other brother is a pastor, a Methodist pastor. I understand their mother, who was a Stegall, would take in unwed mothers back at a time. Can you imagine that?
No, sir. Yeah.
When you talk about people who go into service, their mother showed them how to really serve.
Wow.
And now have you've heard of Cora Mitchell in Smyrna?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am told that Miss Cora Mitchell would buy school supplies and go to the downtrodden families in Smyrna and tutor the children.
Wow.
Heroes.
Yep. Well, you know, you mentioned Mr. Mack and Mr. Rakes, you know, of course, two just iconic figures. Always have been in my life, and you know,
Can I tell you a funny story about Mr. Mack?
Certainly.
Try to be quick. I'm a Waldron, but I can't build a chicken coop. Waldrons build stuff, and they're great at it.
Yes, sir.
Going back, but anyway, not a mechanic. So anyway, I'm with my dad one day. We're riding, and Daddy was a good mechanic and went to school on the GI Bill, and all of a sudden the car started coughing, and it came to a halt. And he got out, and it was the points. I still don't know what points are that had gone bad. Okay. So for some reason, I was riding with Mr. McWilliams to a game in Petersburg. I'm in his 57 Chevrolet. And we're driving down the road at night, and it started coughing. And we barely make it into a filling station. He says, Steve, I'm about 13, 14 with this. What do you think's wrong with it? I said, Mr. Mack, I bet it's the points. That's what it was.
Confident.
Then he told everybody what a great mechanic. So I may be the only guy in the history of Smyrna High School who conned Mr. Mack.
That is such a great story, and Mr. Rakes can, you know, he admired Mr. Mack, and just can tell so many funny stories about some of the things that we didn't have a clue about when we were in school.
Yeah, it was what you saw. There were a lot of characters walking around, unique people. Another one of my heroes is your Uncle Lee Blair, Mr. Holloway. What I remember, I saw heroes in people who looked like somebody just walking around, but they were heroes because of their character.
Aunt Mabel, who ran the Ben Franklin Five and Dime, you know, everybody knew her, but when we went in that store, our hands were in our pockets because you did not want Aunt Mabel to think that you did something inappropriate while you were in her store.
Yeah, she was a wonderful lady.
She
strong,
was, no doubt.
Strong, good. The Beatty's great. That's another great family.
That the Front Street back in the day, you know, with the Ben Franklin and the post office and Marable and Weekly, you know, that's, you know, of course, the other side of the tracks had the new highway, but just seemed like the heart and soul of the town of Smyrna was Front
You
Street.
had the service center where you could get a TV.
Right.
Up
yeah,
there. It was
yeah.
up at the service center. You get a TV, and it was our first big box, I guess. But it wasn't a very big box.
And of course, the theater was there at the time as well. So
then you have, and Rick found out about were the two taverns still working when you were a police officer?
Yes, sir. Snake Pit.
The Snake Pit and the Snake Pit and the White Front. It was like we had a shopping center of beer joints in downtown Smyrna. And it was like a courtyard. And, there was the shootout in 77.
That's right.
Right.
That's another thing.
That's, yes, that's infamous, if you will, I guess.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Christian Hidalgo, they lived right down, or basically at the corner there of Front and Maple Street. They lived in that house. They rented at the time, but when that shootout happened, they heard it, and of course, they took running down there, and his dad was down there and yelling for him, "Get back, get back!" Well, of course, they just ducked behind a tree, but they stood there. But the guy was shot, and he shoves him in the car and takes off to the old Smyrna hospital. The old guy had been shot there, but he vividly tells the story. He's a pretty good writer, and he wrote a thing on Facebook telling about that. But,
yeah, well, it kind of sticks with you.
Yeah.
Those.
Well, and the courthouse was there next door. As a firehouse, but it had supposedly a thing in the back, and that's where he got in a fight in a bar. It was like a chicken coop, but they'd put people back there.
Now, the proudest time
sleep it off
for Smyrna was when the girls won the state championship, and it was about 61 or 62.
Uh-huh.
And I still remember it. It was in the old gym at MTSU. And for a while, the whole state knew about Smyrna.
Sure. Yeah, I wish you and Rick would write books with all your memories and activities. It's going to be a shame not to have some kind of recollection of what you two have done.
I grew up in an anecdotal world. My grandfather's grandfather, our mutual ancestor, Captain Haley, fought in the Civil War. So if your grandfather's grandfather fought in the Civil War, he could talk to you about the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't quite first person, and so everything got handed down anecdotally. Now, sometimes people don't want, they think they don't want a story. What I found with juries, they all come in, they got their devices. But if you got a story, they will listen. They will hang with you. But there better be some meat on the bones.
Yes,
okay?
Sir.
There's got to be something that is there. And then if you can kind of make it not obvious at first, so that they know they got to ride with you a ways.
Kind of like a preacher.
Yeah, well, what you do is, like in a personal injury case, I never mention money until I feel certain that the jury trusts me. Don't come in and you'll go to trial lawyer seminar and say, talk about money. I don't talk about money much because they're going to decide. But the less you talk about money, the more they'll trust you.
That makes sense.
Law has changed a lot since you started.
Yeah.
Especially like today, it just seems like to me, there's not a council meeting, there's not a commission meeting, there's not a school board meeting, there's not any kind of meeting now that has an attorney there to advise them as they go. And it's funny, you said, county commissioners should be magistrate, and they would hold court right there under a tree. And
Sam Ridley said he made his first $1 million disregarding his lawyer's advice.
Got him convicted at one point.
and that's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes we lawyers sit up and say, okay, I've got to come up with a way that nothing bad could ever happen to you. Well, you can't live like that.
Sure. And
sometimes you just got to go with it, and you sit there and you think, well, I've got to make sure we don't get sued. Now, the thing of it is, what if you get sued? You shouldn't have to worry about getting fired if you did something that was your job, even if it didn't work out right. Not everything works out right.
Sure.
And I think people need to learn that early on, because they will learn it. It may take a divorce or two, but they'll learn it sooner or later.
They'll get the hang of it.
Thank you for being with us today. God bless you, and this has been such a fun show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. This is what we like doing this show for, are people like you, because we've got this now, and this is recorded, and it'll be podcast forever, which everybody does. If you want to think about cassettes or CDs, that it's a podcast, and it'll be here forever that people go back and listen to, and tell them stories.
If my mother was here, she would critique it, and she would tell me things I left out and things I should have.
Well, your tie was straight, so she'd give you an A for that.
She would tell me.
And your shoes look good.
Yeah, well, what I didn't say about is really I owe the church so much, because if you're male and you get baptized in the Church of Christ, at least during that time, right after World War II, a lot of men didn't make it, and a lot of them, the ones who did, were like my dad. They were down to the store drinking Coke and went into war on Sunday. And so right away, when I get baptized at 11, I'm performing in church.
Right.
Saying prayers public, and so
communion.
I got over any fear I might have had of speaking publicly by going to church.
Good point.
That's great. Hope you enjoyed our show today. You had local attorney Steve Waldron with us, and we could go on for about 3 hours. The show is just too quickly today, but I hope everybody is safe out there tonight. I know we got some level 3 storms coming in, and Brian will get into it in a minute, but have a great week. We'll talk to you later.